Okay, well, here we go. Here we go. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while now, and what I want to talk about is basically the different phases that I went through on my spiritual journey and self-discovery journey. Simply because when I was growing up, I didn't have a guide. I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have anybody to talk about this, and I didn't know anybody. Perhaps I did, but I didn't know anybody that was willing to talk about their experience with their spiritual, religious path. You know, growing up is you're trying to reconcile a lot of things. You have this yearning for meaning and significance. The best way you have to kind of like get to that place is through myth. I think, we're storytelling monkeys. We are meaning-making monkeys. I mean, that's why one of the reasons why I became an actor in the first place, because the role that stories have in my life is insane. So that's why I want to talk about my story. Perhaps it can shed some light into your own personal experience, because we all function in relationship too. I think it's really important to actually have a honest, open conversation about it. Maybe by listening to my story, you can relate to when it's like, oh yeah, I do agree with this, no, I disagree with that, and it's like, oh, that's really interesting, So hear me out. Now, especially now, there's a lot of people that don't ascribe themselves to conventional religion anymore, and it's only logical because these are medieval institutions, right? I feel there's a feeling of I wanna believe, but I really don't. The models, the scripts that religion provides are no longer serving us, or at least for me, that was the thing. It's like it's not working. These stories, these values, these traits don't represent me. They don't speak to the person that I want to be. But at the same time, I do believe religion is important. It is. Why? Because it's still here, dude. It's still here. And there must be a reason for it, right? If it wasn't a good meme, it wouldn't be here. It would have stopped existing a long time ago, but it's still here. So that tells us that there's something that we must rescue from religion, some values. And I think ultimately we all live a kind of religious life, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. Like, I know I do, although I don't have a religion. I kind of have a religious, spiritual life, right? I think it was David Foster Wallace that said everybody worships. The only difference is what do you worship? So, yeah. Okay, so how did I get here? How did I become this person that it's kind of like spiritual in a way? If not to pull any labels on me, because I don't want to be put in a box. But how did I get here? I think it's really compelling to see how the dots connect, because I couldn't be any further away from where I was in the beginning. Like my points of view throughout my life have changed so much. I went from being a Catholic to a deist, to an agnostic, atheist, agnostic, and spiritual. I've been through a lot of phases and steps to be where I'm at right now. And to be honest, I think in the future it might change, and that's completely okay. Like, I'm fine with it. Because for me, it has always been about curiosity. Always. I've always been a seeker, an explorer. It's like, oh, you know, you have to go there to know there. And it's something that it has always been with me ever since I was a child. It's like, I wonder this, I wonder why, and why is this, and why is that, and why. Fact of the matter is, I don't know how to do otherwise. It's just the way I'm wired. Obviously, I have to give you some context. What were like the social, cultural narratives that were around me, because you're not separate from your environment. Ultimately, what you do is what the environment does. Like, you are the whole in a unit, and a unit of the whole. Okay, so I guess from the beginning, I was born and raised in Venezuela, and I was raised Catholic. So, you know, baptism, communion, confirmation, you know, all that jazz. I went through all of that.
Okay, can we just take a look at this picture? Damn, that was so funny. My mom was like, your friends are boys, all of them, not one girl. I was like, nah, homies.
And to be honest, my family wasn't a strict Catholic family, in the sense that we didn't go to church every Sunday. Like, we didn't do that at all. I mean, every now and then it could be like, hey, do you want to go to church? But it wasn't something that it was forced upon me. And I'm actually really grateful that it wasn't. But still, there was like, hey, you know, like, we're going to church, like, please come, you know? And I would be like, okay, yeah, but because I always thought church was boring as fuck, because it is. You know, and my grandma, she still has an altar in her room. Do you know those like telenovelas where you see like the grandmother has like you know, like images of saints and Jesus and the Virgin and like candles and stuff? Well, that's no joke. Like, that's for real. Deadass, my grandmother has one of those in her room, you know, and she prays a lot, you know. It's, yeah. and I saw that, and I guess for a while I was interested, but it never really sticked with me, right? So yeah, I would sum up my upbringing as mild Catholic, just because we were not as strict. That's all. But you see, this is the part where it's gonna get really interesting, because my entire life I went to Catholic schools with like nuns. Like nuns? Yeah, nuns? Yeah. Nuns. That was horrible. No, like deadass. That was horrible. I think if Catholic schools are really good at something, is at creating atheists. You know, it's because you're so close to it that it's like, nah, at least for me, it's like, nah, this is not it. And the thing is, like, I still remember the feeling of being like indoctrinated, obey, comply, just shut up. And if you think regular schools are brainwashing kids, you cannot imagine Catholic schools. It's like, yeah, because they're Catholic school, they're pushing their agenda. But the thing is, I was always a rebel, bro. Resist authority, question authority. I've always been like that. In my school, they always had like this very sassy attitude of like, oh, you know, like holier than thou. And we hold the moral high ground just because we are representatives of God on earth. And if you dare to question, that's the devil's work. And you're going to hell, and we're going to call your parents. And yeah, I remember there was this nun, she was hilarious. She was like this big. And she would always go like, that's the motive for suspension. And it's like, bruh, come on. Anyways, I grew up, I was probably like 12 or 13 years old, and I was being exposed to a lot of things. My friends, the stuff that I was reading and watching on the internet. Another factor that it was super important throughout my developing years was the fact that when I was around that age, my parents were moving a lot. And so I basically lived, since I was 14, alone by myself. I mean, I did live with my older brother, but because my older brother had other stuff he had to take care of, I was basically by myself. So I became my own guide. I became my own parent. I became the person that I needed to be just to pull through all of those years, right? Now that I think about it, it's kind of wild. Like, my parents were like, "You're good kids, we raised you well. Go on." I'm really grateful that happened. Anyways, one of the things that captured my attention while I was growing up was science. It's like, oh, where does the universe come from? Like, how did it all start? What's this? Like, this is kind of weird. And I don't know, science in a way saved me. Christianity, Catholicism wasn't giving me any answers. To be able to look at the universe in a factual, scientific way was such a relief. And because I'm a curious person, I was always learning, and it just like fuel that curiosity. It's like, oh yeah, like I wanna learn more, I wanna know more. And that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And I guess for me, the figure of God didn't make any sense. It's like, why do we have to have this monarch? Like, why is he so jealous? And why he is virtually a bully? And what's the point of being omniscient, omnipotent, and don't do shit about anything? And why does it have to be a man? Like, why? So for me, it was like, it's not adding up. It doesn't make any sense to me. And the funny thing is, I'm telling you, I used to pray a lot, like a lot. I remember just like praying to God, like, please, like, is he testing me? Is he, maybe there's something, like, this must be something, there must be a test, like, please, God, make me believe, like, I wanna believe, just give me a sign, whatever, I'll take it. But just like, there just wasn't anything. There's nothing, you know. Like, I remember waking up in the middle of the night, having these thoughts, like, oh, please, God, are you testing me? What this is, what, like, you know. And I went through like a really dark period, psychologically speaking, because basically everything that I knew to be truth was falling apart. God is not real, like. But I've been told that way. I've been told that, and you know. But it wasn't. I just couldn't shake off the doubt. I had to follow myself. It just felt right. It felt like it was a step that I needed to take. So one day, it was like, you know what? I think this whole issue with God, I think he's bullshit. And once I admitted to myself that I didn't believe in God, things got better. I wasn't anxious anymore. Keep in mind, I was a kid. I was like probably 14, 15 years old, and I was going through all of this on my own. But at the same time, I was kind of like convincing myself, like, you know what, maybe there's an architect of all of this, but he just doesn't give a fuck about us. That's it. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was like, I just don't believe. I don't. For me, it's like this cloud suddenly lifted. It's like, I don't have to worry about God or whatever. I mean, I think we're just lucky. We're just really lucky to be here, to be alive, because we could not be here, but like, we are here, so that's enough. I think that's enough. And like I said, science rescued me in many, many ways, which is something that I never felt with Catholicism. I felt like I was being watched all the time, and I still feel guilty sometimes. Like, I still feel guilty. I'm an ex-Catholic in recovery. This big brother always watching. And with science, for me, it was like to know that all the essential material come from just one place. It means that I'm part of it. It means I'm it. Because like if the Big Bang is this explosion, it means we're still exploding. It's still going on. Like we're part of the explosion. And for me, it was like, oh yeah, like I'm it. Like I'm not separate from the universe and the world and everything. I'm it. And I never felt that with Catholicism. I never felt that with Christianity. I was like, oh, this is nice. I feel at home. Then after this, there was like this really funny phase that I was almost like a militant atheist. It's like, hey, yo, like if you believe in God, you're dumb as fuck, you're just stupid. I was reading like Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins. I was an atheist agnostic for a very, very long period of time, yeah. It was recently that my perspective changed. It must have been probably like just like 3 years, I guess. I was still curious. You know, for a while it's like I was satisfied with science and that we were here and that we were lucky and that's it. But I still had some questions, you know, like what's the meaning? What's and you know, like I don't think science can explain our inner yearnings. I don't think so. I don't think science has all of the answers. I don't think it can provide them. So curiosity again. I feel there must be something else, something more. One day, the algorithm gave me an Alan Watts video recommendation. It was one of his lectures. I was like, oh, kind of like resonated with this. But I didn't really pay that much attention to it. It was like, okay, well, I really liked what he said, but it was like, okay. After that, I got really interested in psychedelics because one thing leads to another thing. Fuck. And I was reading about these substances and I was like, yo, this is really crazy. And you know, every now and then I would use cannabis. I still occasionally do, just because I think the altered states of consciousness that these substances provide are really insightful and you can actually gain a lot of knowledge and perspective from it. Anyways, I think the stroke that broke the camel's back was when my friend killed himself. Of course, that was a psychological trauma. That was like, I was shattered. I was like, oh, this is really fucked up. And like I said, because before that I was like interested in psychedelics and Watts, those topics came back into my life. I guess I was just trying to find meaning. Because remember, like all these years of me being an atheist and an agnostic, and suddenly I have this friend that I know for a fact he's not coming back because he's dead. It was like, dude, this is insane. This is too much. I don't know. So I just keep seeking. I keep searching. It's like, what's going on? Anyways, I think it must have been like 6 months. Yeah, 6 months after my friend died that I had the courage to try psilocybin mushrooms. That experience changed my life. I'm probably going to talk about this in another video. For me, it was like, oh fuck, I cannot ignore this anymore. There's definitely something else going on. And I was willfully blind. I was like, I didn't want to admit that there was something else. It was like, no, like when we die, that's it. There's no God. Like we're here by chance and like this is it. I was a square, but then I encountered the mushroom and it just dissolves everything. Hands down, one of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever had, because for the very first time in my life, I felt, but I truly felt in my body, in my mind, in my heart, in my soul, and everywhere that I was it. And I understood the concept of God.
Pause it real quick here. Perhaps I went overboard with this expression, but Basically, what I mean is I understood the concept of God in my own terms.
Because it's not like God is a supernatural entity, something that it's outside of us. It was like, no, God is natural. It's us. And then that I jumped into like, oh, I am the universe. I am it. Like we're God. I'm God. Everything is God. I could see that and I could feel that. And I was like, wow. And also the feeling of being loved. It's like, it's just pure love pouring out of you. Because I went through so much shit during those 6 months of healing, because I was going through therapy. I was making connections. I was trying to make sense of what happened to my friend. And I was taking care of myself. I realized that I put a lot of effort into myself because I wanted to be better. I wanted to rearrange my life and have that agency again of, yeah, this is it. This is my life. This is what I stand for, and this is what I'm made for. This is what I want to do. And I'm just like really grateful that everything unfolded the way it did. Because like I said, the dots always connect. Like when you look back, they always do. And like you see how many phases I've been through. It's not a linear process, and it's just fun to explore what the fuck's going on. To be sincere, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you believe in. It doesn't really matter what I believe in. Like, it matters what you believe and how those beliefs are serving you, in the sense of what are you doing? Are you a person that stewards their experience and others' experiences? Are you being of service to your community? I think it was John Vervaeken, like, don't tell me what you believe, tell me what you practice. And I think that's the real deal here. Can you be a more wiser and kinder person? Can you show up for yourself and others? Can you hold space for others? Can you hold space for yourself? Can you love? Can you deeply love? Can you have compassion for yourself and other beings? How can I add value? How can I add value? How can I engage? How can I be more alive? How can I nurture my passions? How can I just be here, like more committed to all of this, the life itself? Because at the end of the day, you know, it's really important to have this mental flexibility of, you know what? Perhaps I'm full of shit. Perhaps I am. Perhaps, you know, it's what Ernest Becker says, that we're just denying death, because that's the only truth that we know for a fact it's gonna happen. We're all gonna die. Me being a spiritual is a way for me to deny death, and makes me feel a little bit better about death. It could be that. It literally could. But in my heart, I think this is true. I think that's healthy. That's healthy to say, like, yeah, I believe in this. But I could also be wrong. I could. And that's okay. What matters? Are you being a good person? Are you extending compassion? Are you being kind? Are you spreading love? Yeah. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. And please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'll be here, and hope you have a beautiful day. See you.